this is a new video for version 8.1 on how to work in Teams. I will be preparing a very simple project which just contains one document, and I will just only apply very few codes, and then I will pretend I have a team member and I will exchange that project with my team member, and then bringing back the work my imagined team member has been doing. So I will walk you through the process. And the way you have to set up a team project, so I'm Mary now, is it always kind of goes in one direction. So the project administrator has to set up the project and then needs to export the project, and then can give it to the various team members, and the various team members then have to give it back to the project administrator, again via project bundle file. The project administrator is merging all sub-projects and creating a new master file that contains the work of all team members, and then distributes this new master file to all team members again. And then the cycle continues like that. There are some situations where you can start out with a situation that you see on this slide, and that always happens if there are different sets of documents that come from different locations. So let's talk about our green team member. He has done 10 interviews, and our blue team member, she has also done 10 interviews, but different ones at a different location. And also our yellow team member has done 8 interviews. So they all have done their interviews in their respective context and then already start to work. Maybe you have an agreed on coding system you start out with, and then each of them can independently start to set up a project, and then send it to the person who is playing the role of project administrator. So it doesn't have to be a completely different person, but that one person said, well, I am doing the merging and preparing the master project, and then sending it out to everyone again. So it has to follow some rules so you don't mess up the integrity of your project. So let's start in that situation. I set up a project and then distribute it to team members. What I also have done is I've created a new empty library, and you can watch the previous video to see how this can be done. So because I want to just have the library for that particular team project, and that only contains projects that relate to that new research and nothing else. So I create a new project, and well, I just call it Project X. Yeah, you have to kind of fill in the blanks wherever your project name is. So when I create this project, Atlas is kind of stamping that project with a unique ID. And that's why it always has to go one way. So this project has an ID, and I need to distribute it to our team members. They have to work with that copy of the project and give them, so everybody has a project that carries the same ID. Otherwise, we cannot bring it back when we merge everything together, because otherwise Atlas needs to assume it's all different projects if they have different IDs. So now I add a document, just doing my drag drop. And I add just a few codes. I just call them codes A, B, and C and D. So code 8, A, not 8. Code B. And I just do an overlapping segment here. And call this code C. So let's just check a few things here. So this project has now 3 quotations, and I'm not Mary, I'm Susanne. So this project was created by me, and also I added the document and added some quotations to it as well. If you look at the codes, this is the code manager. You also see I'm the person having created and not yet modified, but my name is ATLAS.ti. So if you want to check which username you are using, so you can go to Tools and Support, and you do find the user manager there. And so the ATLAS.ti is the default user, and this is me. Atlas automatically corrects the username based on the name that you use on your computer. So just check what Atlas is using, and if you don't like it, to create a new user, you click on user and then you get the new user icon here. You can also float this window, and that's also not so far away. So yeah, this in the user manager you have the user tab just right here. I create a new user, enter a name, and once you've done that, you go to switch user and select the other name. Yeah, so I save the project, and now I want to export it so I can give it to my team members. So I create a project bundle file, and when I export the file, and I don't want to do this in my library, I just do one on my desktop now. Normally probably you have a folder somewhere within your file system. So what you see here now, I get the project name, project X, and the username here and the date when I'm exporting it. And this is now the file that I can send to my team members. So this is my file manager, and so this is now the exported file that I can send to my team members, and they see when I created it and who has created it. So you see now the project has the name project X, but my exported project, the project bundle file, has the name of the exporting user and the date. So now I pretend I'm on Peter's computer, and I'm Peter now, and I want to import the project bundle that I have received from the project administrator. And what I can do now is, and I should, change the project name. Yeah, remember what I said before, the project name is still project X, only the bundle file has the name of the user and the date. So if I'm not changing the project name now, and I send it back to my project administrator, the project administrator has 2 project X. And then she doesn't know, is that now Peter's project or is that Susanne's project? Yeah, so please go through this routine and think about how you want to rename it, whether you want to use first names or initials or whatever, or just code 1, 2, 3, whatever. Yeah, so now if I import the project, So now I open the document and review what the other coder has done, and then I might decide when I want to modify the length of the quotation, and then I don't like the label here, because the others are in capital letters, or starting with the capital letters. So I change the label, and Peter also adds a new code. And actually writes the description. Maybe also an existing one. Some rules on how to apply it. Yeah, so we have a few modifications based on what we had before. Maybe we also apply one or two of the already existing codes. I just want to show you that you can also bring in a code list here in the navigation area, which is a bit easier to handle if the code list gets longer, because you can actually search for codes, and of course you can also code with the code manager. But the added benefit is to always see the description here in the comment field, or can modify the description if you think need to be. So now Peter has done some work and wants to send back the project to the project administrator, so he needs to export it again. So as I'm now logged in as Peter, so this project is now called Peter, and the bundle has the name of the user and the date in it. So Peter now has exported the project. So we now have a little break again, and I'm switching heads again and being Susanne. Before I show you in the software how to actually do the merge, I would like to walk you through some general principles. So the general rule is that everything that is the same will be merged, and everything that is different will be added. So let's look at this example here now. We have two projects here, and document 3 is available in both projects, and 1 and 2 and 4 are different documents. So we end up with a merged project that contains documents 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now looking at a project that has codes that have no comments, and then in the import project a person has added comments to one or multiple codes. So in the merged project we will end up with commented codes, because the comments are different as compared to the master project, and then those will be added to the project. So what happens now if both codes, or the same code, basically has a different comment in the master and the import project? Then we do have a conflict. Then you need to decide what should happen. If you want to keep everything that is in the master project, then it means keep local changes. And the other option is to say, no, I want to keep everything that is in the import project, and then you select overwrite all local changes. So you always need to decide in your mind what's your master project and what is your import project, and which project should win. In terms of the keep local changes and override option, it's the project that is first opened, that is the master, and the one that you merge into is the import project. So here we have a situation where something was deleted. So if the project administrator is deleting code A, B, C in the master project, but these codes still exist in the import project, then they will be added. So in the merge project, you end up again with codes A, B, C. This means if you want to clean up a project, then this needs to be done in the merged version of the project and not in two versions that people work on at the same time. So here I am again. I have my project X open, and now I was informed by Peter that he has sent me his version of the project. I want to open it. So I import his project bundle file. So now it's easy to see now. That is his project bundle file, and now I'm not being confused with my version of the project, because this one now is renamed and I know this is Peter's project. So now I have Peter's project and can look at what he's done. Yeah, which if it's in the first round of merging, I'd always advise that you double check, what the other person is doing, so that when you merge, you can make an informed decision of whose project you want to, or which changes you want to keep and which ones to override. But you don't have to. You can also merge projects, project bundle files. But now I already have imported his project. So yeah, we have now my project and his project on here, and now I'm going to proceed and do a merged. So I start out with my project, then click on File and Merge, and I have now the option, which is automatically activated, to create a snapshot of my own current project. So that means I'm merging into my project, but my current version is kind of saved, a copy of it saved, and it's called a snapshot. And so in case something went wrong during the merge, I can always kind of default back to that version and start again. So I want to merge with Peter's project, and here you see I could have also merged the bundle straight away. So now I get a pre-merge summary, which tells me that a comment was added to code B, and there is some issue regarding code A because Peter modified it, and that is the location. So I can now make a decision whether I want to actually overwrite what I've coded and said, well, Peter is making that decision, and in order to, clean up coding, whatever. So whatever he's done, I want to keep. So if you remember, Peter has renamed code A. So if I click keep, then my version would remain, the comment that was added to code B. If I select overwrite, then the renaming would take effect and also the comment would be added. So these two choices you have at the moment. It's an either or. You have to decide. If it's you merging, your project is going to win, so whatever you have done in the project is going to stay, or whether the changes done in the projects you import are going to win. So I say now merge. I want to save this report. and a backup is created, and I'll see the merge report. I recommend that you do a plausibility check whether it makes sense, and here you get a detailed code of what is happening. But this kind of table gives you an idea that it's plausible what has been done. So now we have everything together what these two coders have been doing in their project. So we can now save the project and note that the project always has its original name. So this is the master project, so we actually don't have it to call it master, it just has the name of whatever your project is called. And if we now export it again for distribution, so all the bundle files will have the author name and presumably normally another date. Yeah, well, you can also rename it here at that stage, so you don't have to, if you don't want to overwrite your old version. So what I want to show you, if I go now to open, that I here have the snapshot project. Remember, before I merged, I had the option to create a snapshot of the previous version. So in case something went wrong with the merge, I have I have a backup. The snapshot has the same ID as the original project. So if I realized I want to go back and want to restart merging, this is the same or the identical project, so to speak, it has the same ID, and it will also be recognized in subsequent merges. Yeah, basically this is what you need to know. Maybe one last thing I can show you that is relevant for teams, and I show it now basically the other way around. Well, let's do one code group. I'll just call it group 1. I export now the code list. So you see how a code list needs to look like if you import it, if you have a ready-made code list that you actually want to start out with. So you could actually go in the code manager under tools, and then you have an import export code option, but you can also go to import export. Here this is the import option and this is the export option. Also, if you hover over with your mouse, you see whether what is import. So the import has a down arrow and the export has the up arrow. So I just now call it, I have to select a location. Where do I want to have it? I have my folder for team projects. For this team project. And I actually want to call it code list for project X. And yes, I want to open it also in Excel. Yeah, so the colors I set are used also here in the Excel table, and then the groups here are numbered. It actually should be group 1 and 2, but I think that you need to fix that so it doesn't start with 0. And then you could use this list for maybe format it a bit and use it as codebook. But more likely as often is that people already have a list of codes if they work deductively and they want to import it. So I save this now and I create a brand new project. This one. Not very creative here. If you create a new project, it always opens behind. So in case you wonder where things are, close the currently open project, and then you will see. So now I use the import export option here and import codes and go through to my folder and import this code list. And as we exported it with headers, so I activate this option. My data contains headers, and this I have no codes in it, so I can ignore this. But if you do a multiple import of code lists, then it would be relevant to choose the option whether to overwrite or not if codes already exist. So if you now take a look, yeah, these are the codes, no coding done. Colors are used as they show up in Excel, and the code definitions are here and the code groups are here. You could potentially use the export codeless export option also to create your code book, but let me just show you a one nicer option, but it depends on how you want to have it, because here the code groups in this, if you use this Excel export option, will be all in one column. So we want the code, we want the comment, we want the groups. Yeah, so you can just use default settings here, and now I export it, and you have to, I didn't pay attention. So you either highlight everything, but I highlighted just one because I'm not the selected item. I actually want all items. Just have to check the right option. Yeah. So here you get the color in this way up front. You get a comment here, and then you get one column for group, and it will tell you in which groups your codes are, and it will also list multiple groups here in one line if a code belongs to multiple groups. So you have now two ways of exporting your code list, and depending on what you want to do and how you want it to look like, you can use both. Yeah, and the other option, if you want to reuse a code list in another project, then you need to export or use this export option here, so Atlas can recognize it in that format when importing it into another project. So that brings me to the end of this tutorial, and I wish you lots of success with your team projects. Bye bye.